Hi everyone, I'm Nikia with Sinko Realty.
And I'm Harrison with Refined Mortgage.
Today we are going to be answering some questions that some of you may have as first-time home buyers. We both know and understand that purchasing a home can be a daunting process if you don't know what to expect as a first-time buyer. So hopefully we can provide some clarity to you guys. The first step in purchasing a home is going to be to obtain your pre-approval, not to be mistaken with being pre-qualified. Harrison, can you explain the difference between being pre-approved and being pre-qualified?
Of course. Difference in being pre-approved and pre-qualified really is going to come down to documentation. Most of the time, if someone says you're pre-qualified, they're going off of the numbers that were put on the application, which may or may not be exactly accurate when it comes to your real life scenario. So, pre-approval, we'll go ahead and get your documents, your W-2s, your pay stubs, things like that to verify income, verify employment, and at that point you would be pre-approved because we've already reviewed all of the documents and verified that everything is correct on the application.
So what are some factors that lenders take into consideration whenever you're looking at getting that pre-approval?
Yeah, pre-approval, the factors that we're going to look at are your credit score, your debt-to-income ratio, commonly referred to as DTI, and your assets, so how much money that you have in the bank. We've got to make sure that your credit score is high enough to qualify for the program that you're looking at. Your debt-to-income ratio is low enough so we know that you can afford the house that you're buying. And assets, we need to make sure that you have enough money in the bank to meet those reserve requirements, down payment, assuming you're not getting any down payment assistance.
Gotcha. And speaking of down payment assistance, I do have some information for you guys. If you have those needs, please feel free to reach out to me. I can get you some down payment assistance. What documents or information should a buyer be prepared to provide whenever they're getting that pre-approval?
Okay, so documents. You're going to make sure that you have 2 years of W-2s, most recent 30 days of your pay stubs, and your most recent 2 months of bank statements, along with some sort of identification. Driver's license is most common. Depending on what loan program we go with, you might also need some tax returns thrown in there as well.
Okay, and for our self-employed buyers?
For self-employed borrowers, you're going to need tax returns, probably a profit and loss as well, in addition to the other documents.
Okay. And then how long do pre-approvals and pre-qualifications typically last?
Pre-approvals, pre-qualifications, both are going to be determined based on how long the credit report's good for. So that's good for 4 months. If rates are going down, then your pre-approval is probably much safer than if rates were on the rise, but definitely check in with your lender to make sure that your pre-approval is still good before you make an offer on a house.
To piggyback off of that, I do recommend that you guys get that pre-approval before you start to look at homes too. It also just shows that to a seller that you're a serious buyer, and if you find the house that you absolutely love, you're ready to go ahead and make that offer. So we spoke a little bit about the different factors that go into getting that pre-approval. One of the factors that I want to touch on is credit score. What should your credit look like in order to get that pre-approval?
Yeah, credit score, that is going to depend on what program we're qualifying you for, but for the most part, you want to make sure that your credit score is in the 600 range for most programs. 580 is technically the minimum for FHA and VA. Now, there are some circumstances where you can go a little bit below that, but I would recommend you have a 580 or higher. The higher your credit score, the better your rate's going to be. And as far as conventional, I would say you'd want to be a little bit higher in the 600s or low 700s. Again, those are not minimum requirements, but just to make sure that you are getting the best deal for the program that you're doing, those are the requirements that I would probably go with.
Okay. And then debt to income ratio, like you said, better known as DTI. Where should that be? What's an acceptable range for DTI?
Yeah, debt to income ratio, again, program specific, a lot of these things are going to be, so definitely consult with your mortgage advisor to make sure that all of your requirements are being met for the program that you're doing. But for the most part, debt to income ratio, you're going to want that to be below 50% on the back end, which there's two debt to income ratios. There's the front end and the back end.
Okay.
The front is your housing ratio, which is just your housing payment. The back end is going to be your total debt ratio, which includes all of your credit cards, all of your, let's say you've got car payments, you've got other loans, that's going to be factored in as well. So if you take your new house payment along with your credit card payments and any other payments you may have, add all that together, 50% is what we're going to need to be below in order to get you qualified.
Okay, good deal. So 50%. So what debts and obligations are considered when assessing a loan application?
Yeah, different debts that are on your credit report are going to be your revolving credit. Think about your credit cards, things like that. Your installment loans, talking about personal loans as well as auto loans, things like that, as well as mortgages. And then any collections that are on there.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah,
Okay.
a lot of collections aren't factored in as a payment, but they are hurting your score. So definitely get those taken care of. And if you need help with that, we can provide you with a credit guidance plan.
Okay. What loan types are out there, and what do you think is the most beneficial to a first-time home buyer?
Yeah, lots of different loan types out there, but your main 4 QM loans, qualified mortgages, are going to be your VA, your USDA. Those are both 0% down, FHA, and conventional. FHA's got a 3.5% down payment requirement. Conventional for your first-time home buyers has a 3% down payment requirement. Depending on your credit score, that's going to determine credit score and DTI, really. It's going to determine which program is going to be best for you. And then, like you said, down payment assistance programs as well. There are those out there that can be coupled with all of these QM mortgages. That way you can maybe get some down payment assistance for your home as well.
Can you use down payment assistance with all 4 loan types?
Yes and no. So for the ones that do have a down payment requirement, your FHA, your conventional, you can definitely use it. It will be depending on what down payment assistance program that you go with. Some of them have different requirements, but there's so many of them out there that there's probably a down payment assistance program that will go with your loan type to where they can get you into a house.
Okay. What are some things that can get your loan denied in underwriting?
Lots of things that can get your loan denied in underwriting, but if you had a pre-approval up front, that really lowers your risk for getting something denied in underwriting. But make sure that you're not going out there to buy a new car, you're not getting new credit cards, you're not buying
No celebratory
boat.
gifts yet.
Right. Don't go out and buy your furniture just yet. Don't get a loan on your appliances or anything like that. You can buy your furniture if you buy it in cash. Just don't buy it with a loan that's going to show up on your credit report, because that could be detrimental when we go to underwriting and they see that you've got a new liability on your credit report that we didn't know about.
So whenever someone is going out and purchasing those items cash, does that not have an effect on the loan or anything like that?
It doesn't necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah, so the problem with that is we've already taken into account the reserves that you have.
Okay.
So we know what you've got in the bank because we got your bank statements, and we're counting on that for the loan. So I would say probably best just to keep everything the same as you can, and don't go out and buy that furniture until afterwards, unless you consult with your lender. If you tell your lender exactly what you plan on doing, then there's going to be no surprises.
Gotcha. Okay. How much should someone have saved whenever they're looking to purchase their first home?
How much someone should have saved is going to be a personal preference for the most part, outside of being able to cover your down payment and closing costs. I would say for most people, you'd want to have at least 6 months in reserves after paying your down payment and closing costs. But, we touched on the down payment already. That's going to be 3.5%, assuming that you're not going with a 0% down loan. Closing costs, you're looking anywhere from 2 to 4%. So you can add those numbers up. That's how much you're going to be expected to pay at closing. And then on top of that, I would recommend having 6 months of mortgage payments just sitting aside in reserves in case you have any issues. You might have a water heater go out. You might have a roof go out. I mentioned those two because those two happened to me within the first year of owning my home. So
same with us. We just had to replace our thermostat. Smaller expense, but you need to have something in reserves for it. So
exactly.
And what's the difference? I heard you mention the closing costs and everything. So I think there's a common misconception out there that you just pay the down payment and closing costs are kind of forgotten about. So what are the differences between the down payment and closing costs?
Right. So your down payment is what it sounds like. It is you making a down payment of a certain amount of money to go towards your loan, and that actually lowers your loan amount. So let's say for easy numbers, you had a house that was $100,000. Not likely anymore.
Right.
We wish, but
right.
$100,000. Let's say we're going conventional loan with 3% down. So that $3,000 is going to be taken off of the $100,000 purchase price, and your loan amount would then be $97,000. Right. So that's your down payment. And like we said, you can get down payment assistance for things like that as well. But your closing costs, those are going to be the fees associated with doing the loan. And all of the fees, talking about the attorney has to get paid.
Right.
Any lender fees, some lenders have fees, some do not. All of your title work, all of your recording fees, all of that together is what we consider to be closing costs.
Okay. So make sure that you have both, guys, not just the down payment. We can get you squared away with down payment assistance, but make sure you have the funds for the closing costs as well.
If your seller's not paying.
If your seller's not paying, right, there you go.
Yeah.
Call that out. And then what are some things that a buyer could do to lower their mortgage payment?
Yeah, a few things you can do to lower your mortgage payment. You could put more money down. You could buy down your rate using discount points. Both of those I probably wouldn't recommend necessarily right now because we have rates that are trending down, and at some point soon you're probably going to be refinancing.
Yeah.
But definitely talk to your lender, see what's going to be best for you. There are also buy down options similar to discount points, but not exactly. So this is going to be 2-1 buy down is common. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of that. 2-1 buy down is basically when either the seller or the lender is paying for your rate, your interest rate, to be 2% lower in the first year, 1% lower in the second year, and then from then on out, it will be whatever the note rate is on the interest rate that you were told in the beginning.
Gotcha. So that's all the questions that we have right now. Harrison, would you mind telling us a little bit about what you do here at Refi Mortgage?
Of course. Yeah, so here at Refine, we do your normal qualified mortgages that we've talked about already, your 4 main loan types. We also have some specialty products for investors out there, self-employed borrowers that are out there, to where if you don't fit in the perfect scenario of a QM mortgage, we might be able to do something like a bank statement loan where we take all of your deposits, we use that income. We could also do something like a DSCR loan for you investors, which basically we're taking the income that the property produces rather than what you have on your tax returns. So definitely a few different things that we can do there, and also do, like we mentioned earlier, the credit guidance plans for those of you that think you may not be ready. If your credit is not where it needs to be yet, we can definitely go through there and show you exactly what you're going to need to do to get that credit score up in a qualifying range.
And I did just want to piggyback. I just thought about this, guys. Don't wait to do that pre-approval. Just see where you stand. If it's not the right time, then we can make an action plan to get you ready. But you very well may be in a position to where you can purchase that home now. So just do the application, see what it says, and we can make an action plan for you based off of that. If we didn't answer one of the questions that you guys have, please leave them in the comments. We'd be glad to get back with you. Again, I'm Nikia with Sinko Realty.
And I'm Harrison with Refine Mortgage.
Thanks, guys.